Hello boys and girls, my name is Mrs. Meade and I have chosen the story today to read to you called Possum Magic by Mem Fox. So I've chosen this story because it was one of my favourites when I was in primary school. Let's have a look at the front cover so we can predict or guess what the story might be about. So the title might give you a little bit of a clue. So the title is Possum Magic. So possum might tell you the main characters in the story, and magic might give you a clue about what might happen. Let's have a look here at the picture, the illustration. So we have a picture of a possum. So if you haven't heard of a possum before, a possum is a native Australian animal. We also have a picture of a little koala hanging onto the branch. So if you haven't already guessed, you might have realised that it could be an Australian story and it could be set in Australia, and you are correct. So I've also chosen this story, boys and girls, because I am from Australia, and hopefully this story will introduce some Australian animals to you, maybe learn about some of the foods that we enjoy eating in Australia, and also some of the places of Australia as well. All right, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. Possum Magic by Mem Fox, illustrated by Julie Beavis. Once upon a time, but not very long ago, deep in the Australian bush lived two possums. Their names were Hush, which is the baby one, and Grandma Poss. Grandma Poss made bush magic. She made wombats blue and kookaburras pink. She made dingoes smile and emus shrink. So these are just some of our Australian animals. But the best magic of all was, what could it be? The magic that made Hush invisible. So you can see Grandma Poss doing her magic and Hush slowly becoming invisible, which means nobody can see her. What adventures Hush had. Because she couldn't be seen, she could be squashed by koalas, with her poor tail stuck under the koala's bottom. Because she couldn't be seen, she could slide down kangaroos. We also have an echidna down here as well. Because she couldn't be seen, she was safe from snakes, which is why Grandma Poss had made her invisible in the first place. Because snakes like to eat little critters like possums. But one day, quite unexpectedly, Hush said, "Grandma, I want to know what I look like. Please, could you make me visible again?" As you can see over here, Grandma Poss is brushing her teeth and she can see her reflection in the water. But poor Hush, because she's invisible, she doesn't have a reflection. "Of course I can," said Grandma Poss, and she began to look through her magic books. She looked into this book and she looked into that. There was magic for thin and magic for fat, and magic for tall and magic for small. But the magic she was looking for wasn't there at all. Grandma Poss looked miserable. "Don't worry, Grandma," said Hush. "I don't mind." But in her hearts of hearts, she did. She's looking very upset. All night long, Grandma Poss thought and thought. The next morning, just before breakfast, she shouted, "It's something to do with food. People food, not possum food. But I can't remember what. We'll just have to try and find it." So later that day, they left the bush where they'd always been to find what it was that would make Hush seen. Bit of rhyming there as well, boys and girls. So you can see, Hush jumped on the back of Grandma Poss and they're riding into the city. Let's learn about some of the places that you might find in Australia. cities. They ate Anzac biscuits in Adelaide, some of our yummy foods, Mornay and Minties in Melbourne, steak and salad in Sydney, and pumpkin scones in Brisbane. Hush remained invisible. Don't lose heart, said Grandma Poss. Let's see what we can find in Darwin. It was there, in the far north of Australia, they found a Vegemite sandwich. Grandma Poss crossed her claws and crossed her feet. Hush breathed deeply and began to eat. What do you think is going to happen? A tail, shouted both possums at once. For there it was, a brand new visible tail. You can see here. Later, on a beach in Perth, they ate a piece of pavlova. Hush's legs appeared, so did her body. You look wonderful, you precious possum, said Grandma Poss. Next stop, Tasmania. And over the sea they went. In Hobart, late one night, in the kitchens of the hotel, they saw a lamington on a plate. Hush closed her eyes and nibbled. What do you think is going to happen? Grandma Poss held her breath and waited. It's worked, she cried. And she was right. Hush could be seen from head to tail. Grandma Poss hugged Hush and they both danced. Here we go round the lamington plate till early in the morning. They're both so happy, they're celebrating. From that time onwards, Hush was visible. But once a year on her birthday, she and Grandma Poss ate a Vegemite sandwich, a piece of pavlova, and half a lamington, just to make sure that Hush stayed visible forever. And she did. And that's the end of the story. I really hope that you enjoyed that, boys and girls. And I also hope that you enjoyed the last week of your holidays. And I can't wait to meet you all next week. See you very soon. Bye.